Today is the day of Pentecost. It's an exciting day, the birthday of the church. We have this exciting story of Pentecost when they're gathered together and then there's a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and then the Spirit, looking like tongues of fire, comes down on them and they start speaking, and everyone around, no matter what language they speak, that's the language they hear. And it's such a moving experience that some people are going, oh my goodness, this is the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. And of course there are always cynics, so there are some saying, oh, they're just filled with new wine. But every time I hear that, I always think two things. One, what kind of wine were they drinking when mass auditory hallucinations were an understandable result? Two, did you catch Peter's response? These men aren't drunk, as you say, because it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. If it were 9 o'clock in the evening, it'd be a different story. But it's only 9 a.m., so they're not drunk. I can tell you that. But it's an exciting day, the birthday of the church, and as we celebrate another year in this almost 2,000-year-old institution, I think we should celebrate what it means to be the church. What it means to have these gifts of the Spirit. And of course, there's this gift of tongues that we hear about in this first Pentecost celebration. But of course, as we like to do, we start to say, well, my gift is better than your gift. And so if you have a different gift of the Spirit, it's not as good. And since the Spirit of tongues is this first real sign of a spiritual gift, then that's the most important one. But in St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, he says, no, that's not it. Yeah, there are different gifts, but they're all important. No one gift is more important than the other. Yeah, there's the gift of tongues, but there's also the gift of knowledge, of wisdom, of faith, healing, miracles. They're all important. And I can safely say today that for most of you here, if you have that friend that has had that uplifting word to say to you when you were down, that gift has been more important than someone speaking in tongues. Because that's what you needed at that moment. So yeah, there are all these different gifts, all these different things that we bring. But that doesn't make one better than the other. We just have different things to offer. Just last weekend, I was at a meeting for one of the task forces I serve on for the diocese, where we're reimagining the church. This is more in-depth than the Reimagining Sunday that I'm doing here with all of you, because here we're talking about looking at what it means to be a Christian. How do we do that? How do we display what that means here in the Diocese of Southern Ohio? We had a lengthy meeting 2 Saturdays ago, and one of the things that kept being thrown around were people saying, you know, we need to just forget about our differences and just focus on what we have in common. Focus on what keeps us together, because that's what's really important. And I think that's only half true. Because yes, it's important that we all have something in common. We all have this nearly 2,000-year-old tradition that brings us together. We all have this wonderful table that we will gather around in just a few short moments as the one body of Christ. But let's not ignore the fact that we're different from one another. Let's not pretend that our differences are unimportant or not worthy of praise. Because we each have our own gifts. We each have something to offer. I'd say that one of my gifts may be the gift of preaching. I may be okay at it. But if you were to ask me to do something administrative, I would fail miserably. And so we need people that have that gift. We have this beautiful banner over here that we're going to dedicate in a little while. I could not have come close to making something that beautiful. So we need people that have that artistic gift as well. There are people that have musical gifts, people that are excellent writers, people who are excellent leaders. There are all these gifts that all of you bring to the church. And that's what makes the church so vibrant and wonderful and beautiful. And in just a few short moments, we're going to welcome a new member into the household of God. And we're going to be so excited when we find out what gifts that child will bring to us. Because it's not about us all being the same. It's about all of us having something different to offer for one common purpose. So as we celebrate this birthday of the church, as we celebrate another year in our life together, I pray that you look at yourselves and find what makes you different and celebrate that. And bring all of what you have to offer to the table. Because your differences are important to us as a whole. We don't want to all be the same, because that would be a boring world. So celebrate our differences. Celebrate our diversity. Because it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, if you're old or young, if you're lay or ordained, wherever you are on your journey of faith, none of that matters. All that matters is that we have a common purpose. And there's something that you personally bring to the table. And we simply would not be the church we are today without you. So let's celebrate our differences. Let's lift those up to God. Because that's what it means to be the church. Amen.
And 1, and a 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear you. Happy birthday.